guys haven't seen O yet, I highly recommend checking it out. It's one of my favorite Cirque du Soleil shows on the Strip in Bellagio, and the theater just so happens to be right next to the poker room where we're playing today. All right, I showed up here for this cash game, but there's only 2 5-10s. They look okay. We're gonna be making a game time decision here soon in this like small 560 tournament that could be done in 2 days that I could possibly win. Well, that really sucked. I didn't even turn the camera on because we were about to go on break and it was gonna be like a limped pot. So anyway, I'm just gonna tell you what happened there. This last hand right before break, I limped the small blind, 9-7 offsuit. The big blind checks. Flop is 7-6-5, 2 clubs. I'm gonna check this flop a lot, so I check this time. He bets 400 into 500. I make the call. The turn is another 7, so we make trips. I check, he bets 1200 this time. I make the call once again. The river is an offsuit jack. I check, he does not slow down. He bets 2K. So now he's gone 3 streets, pretty big sizings the whole way. Don't think I can squeeze any value out of anything. Honestly, not even feeling that great about trips. So I just call. He flips over 90 to clubs. So he flopped a straight with a flush draw. Yeah, we just kind of get like a pretty brutal run out, lose a ton of chips. We only started this tournament with 15,000, so that took a big chunk. They roped me into the Bellagio tournament. In this hand, I open kings and the low jack to 700. The button and the big blind both come along. The flop is 10-8 deuce rainbow, so we're gonna see bet this flop. We bet 900 and both opponents come along. The turn is an offsuit ace. On this card, everyone checks around. The river is an offsuit 4, and when the big blind checks again, I'm deciding whether or not to go for value. I decide that I can probably get a crying call from a 10 and they're gonna probably fold everything else. I don't think that button checks back an ace a lot, and I don't think big blind double checks the ace. So fairly certain my hand is good. I bet 1800, about a third of the pot, but they both fold. So at this point, I'm down to under 20 big blinds, and the cutoff, who's been opening a lot of hands, like 9-3 suited under the gun and getting caught with that, opens again in the cutoff to 1,000. Folds to me in the big blind. We have, I think, 7,800 total. We happily jam all in with ace-10 offsuit.
No.
He immediately is like, no. Eventually lets it go. And I actually like what he said afterwards. He said, that's what we call in basketball a heat check, because he had been winning so many hands. At that point, I don't know what that means. I'm not a sports person, but he's like, that's what we call a heat check. It's like when you're opening a bunch in a row and then somebody, squeezes or 3-bets you or whatever. It's like, all right, heat check for you. In this one, the cutoff limps, the button limps behind, and we complete our small blind with king 6 of clubs. The big blind checks, and so we're going 4 ways to a flop of king, queen, 6 with 2 diamonds. So we flop top and bottom in a 4-way pot. It checks around to the button and he bets 1,500. I think there was only 2K in the pot, so this is a pretty big bet for especially multi-way. We just make the call and both the other opponents fold. The turn is another 6, so we boat up. We've got this hand absolutely locked up. We check to him, and this time he bets again for 2,200. And I don't want a scary card to come off on the river versus a king, and if he has a strong draw, he might just call my jam on the turn anyway, so I decide to go all in. Looking back, I'm not so sure about this. Maybe I just want to let him catch up. He eventually folds, and we take down this medium-sized pot. In this next one, I look down at ace jack offsuit from early position and open it up to 1,200. The low jack comes along, and then the cutoff goes all in for 5,200 at 500 big blind, so a little bit more than 10 bigs. When it folds back to me, I have a decision to make. I think I'm ahead of enough stuff that cutoff jams here that I can make this call profitably. The problem is I have this guy behind me who called in the low jack. Normally, if I was playing against somebody who was playing stronger ranges in this spot, I might consider folding this, but this guy had been playing a ton of hands and, he was 3-betting stuff when he had better hands. So I decided to just go with this one. I ISO jam all in for a little less than 30 big blinds myself. He quickly folds and we see we're up against ace queen offsuit. So dominated in this spot. We flop a jack, but he rivers a queen. So we lost a pretty sizable portion of our stack in this hand. So coming back from the second break, we are pretty short and we're ready to get all of our chips in. Perfect spot comes when our loosey-goosey friend from earlier opens the low jack and the cutoff makes the call. I'm on the button and I have 6,900 chips, which is good enough for 11 and a half bigs and pocket sevens. So we decide this is a good spot, jam it all in. That opponent says, why her? And ends up mucking. They both fold and we take down a pot. A few hands later, I pick up ace king offsuit under the gun, shove my stack in there once again, and this time we get called. This time we get looked up by pocket queens.
Ace. Thank you.
No worries, we win the flip, and now we have about 20 big blinds. The very next hand, after we double, I'm in the big blind with pocket tens. The button opens, he's the same guy who just doubled me up. He opens and we jam all in with our pocket tens. He snap calls me off with ace-8 offsuit. Pretty light, but we will take it and keep our fingers crossed that we hold, which we do. So in just a few hands, we go from 6,900 all the way up to about 35,000. Gotta love tournaments. 2 hands later, the cutoff opens to 2,500. The blinds have gone up to 400, 800 now. I peel king, queen of clubs on the button. Now we have some chips to play with and we go heads up to a flop and the run good continues. The flop comes queen, queen, deuce, rainbow. He snap checks it over to me. So I think he probably has a hand like ace high or maybe an underpair to the board that's trying to pot control. Other things, I think he will just c-bet. I bet 2,500. Just to get crying call out ace highs. I'm gonna bet this small a lot when check two. He calls, the turn is an offsuit 5. He checks again and we're gonna continue to bet small. We don't wanna put too much pressure. I bet 4K into 12K. He makes the call pretty quickly. So now I'm thinking he has a pair. I think he would have thought about it a little longer with ace high, unless he has like a wheel draw. The river is an offsuit ace. If he did have a wheel draw, he hit top pair on the river. So I'm trying to think about sizing. I go for about half pot. He shakes his head and pretty much quickly folds. He thinks that I rivered him. He didn't put me on a queen. Yeah, we take down another pot and we're all the way up to 46,000. These past 2 levels have gone very well for us. And slowly but surely we keep chipping away, growing our chip stack when this hand happens. So I'm not sure how happy I am with this next one. The hijack opens to 2,500, the cutoff calls, and I look down at king jack of diamonds on the button. We're all about 50 blinds effective, and these late position, open and calls are gonna be a lot wider, and this is a beautiful Broadway hand. Some charts even say to just rip it in for this much, so I definitely should be squeezing this hand pre-flop. That being said, I just called. Flop comes down ace 3 deuce with 2 diamonds, the ace of diamonds as well. It checks to me and I check back. I think that it's okay to bet this and I can call a raise and, continue from there. The turn is 6 of spades. The hijack now leads very small, 1,600. The cutoff makes the call, and so now I think the 2 of them are super capped. I think that just in case I don't hit my diamond on the river, I can probably raise this turn and take it down now, or raise this turn and put a lot of pressure on the river versus small sizing and a call. But once again, I took the passive route and I just called. I'm not really happy with how I played this hand, if you can't tell. The river comes the beautiful 5 of diamonds. So we river the nut flush, unless somebody has the 4 or 5 of diamonds exactly. The hijack checks, cutoff now bets 4,600. And now we are trying to figure out a raise size. We go with 15K, hijack folds, and the cutoff doesn't take too much time before making the call. We flip our hand over and are good. He said, that's what I was afraid of. We take down a pretty decent sized pot. Once again, the heater continues. So since coming back from COVID, the Bellagio is still at 8 max tables. So that means this tournament was playing sometimes 7-handed or 6-handed. That was such a nice change of pace from the World Series. And that's the case in this hand. We're 6-handed. I open the cutoff with pocket jacks to 2,200 at 1K big blind. The button makes the call. The small blind makes the call, and then the big blind jams all in for around 19,000, so 19 big blinds. We reshove over the top for however much we have. The other 2 opponents fold, and we see we're up against ace queen offsuit, so it's a race. Jacks versus ace queen. Let's see who takes it down.
Oh.
What a catch.
Thank you.
I'm telling you, I ain't going against you.
My pocket three.
Yeah.
I ain't going against you. He's catching everything.
The heater cannot be stopped. We open king jack of clubs in the hijack to 3,200. Next person to act jams all in for about 8.5 big blinds, and we make the call and win the flip versus pocket fives. We flop a jack and we win the flip. In the last significant hand of the day, the cutoff opens to 4,000, and we look down at the beautiful pocket kings on the button. We 3-bet to 11K, and when it folds back to him, he jams all in for around 35,000 chips total, so a little more than 20 big blinds. We obviously snap call and see we're up against ace king. So we indeed hold with our pocket kings, and the heater continues. That was a really good decision. We bagged heaps. Finally, we bagged heaps. Bagged 190,200 for day 2. Come back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Yeah, battle it out. I think there's only gonna be 30 people left. We have a pretty good shot at a good score. I mean, it was a very small tournament, like 170 people or something, so really small. You know what? After the World Series, I will take it. I will definitely take run good in any tournament of any size. I don't care. It just feels nice to have a lot of chips in something. All right, so here we are for day 2. Poker room's right back there. There's 30 players left. 15 are gonna get paid. The 15th place person will get 1,080 something. All the way up to first place will get about 25K. So not bad for a 2-day tournament. It has felt really good to play here. I feel like I've been treated so nicely compared to World Series times. Anyway, I'm really pumped. I have 3 really good players at my table, really accomplished players in tournaments and in other variants. They play online. 2 of them are German, 1 American. There are a ton of chips at my table. This isn't gonna be a situation where you can show up and put a lot of pressure. I'm second in chips, by the way, out of the 30 people remaining, which is really cool. This isn't a situation where I can just put a ton of pressure on people before the money bubble with my current table. We might redraw and then things will change. But right now, all the chips are at my table. So some bittersweet news when I looked at my table draw, because yes, 3 of the players are really good. On the other hand, there's a lot of chips to be won at my table, which can set you up really nicely to win the entire tournament outright if you come into the final table with a dominant lead. So fingers crossed. I'm gonna go get set up, drink some coffee, and hopefully play my best and have some good news for you in a couple hours on break. So the first hand we play in day 2, the low jack opens to 3,500. I look down at ace 9 of diamonds in the hijack and raise it up to 10K. He makes the call, and the flop comes down king 9-3 with 2 hearts and a club. When he checks, I down bet to 8K. I want to protect my equity, and I have a best 9, so if he has a hand like 10-9 or 9-8, something like that, he'll call this flop bet, and then we can check it down to the river. Anyway, he calls. The turn is a 5 of hearts, so it brings in the flush. Not a great card for us because I don't think he's calling a lot of offsuit combinations out of position pre-flop to my 3-bet. The ones that are offsuit probably, that call the flop, probably have a king in them. So I check this one back and cross my fingers that he checks the river. The river comes in offsuit 7. He does not check. He bets 18,000. And like I said, we're not really happy with this run out and got to give him credit for having a hand here, and we make the fold. And as the break clock starts, we're dealt 9-7 of hearts in the cutoff, and we open to 4K. The big blind is one of those good German pros. He defends, and the flop comes 8-5-4, 2 clubs and 1 heart. He checks to me, and I gotta be honest, I kind of tripped myself up here. I think he started the hand with about 30 big, so I was like, oh man, he's gonna check raise this flop a lot versus my C-bet, and I don't want to get check raised, so I checked it back. But looking back on it, it's like I have 9 high, I have a gutter and a backdoor flush draw. I'm not really giving up that much by bet folding on this flop. So in the future, I'll be c-betting this spot. The turn was an 8 of hearts. So now we pick up a flush draw. He bets 5K. I'm not going anywhere. I make the call. The river is a queen of hearts. So somehow we find ourselves with a flush here on the river, and he bets the same size. He bets 5K on this river. Or maybe he's trying to go for thin value with something like pocket sixes. I wasn't really sure what to make of this, but I do have a flush. I need to get value from it. I make it 20K. He does something a little surprising. He jams all in for about 115K total. I have about 130 in my stack, 140. So if I make this call and I'm wrong, I'm down to about 10 big blinds and have just like punted away my stack in glorious fashion. So I start thinking, okay, what are his bluffs? What are his value hands? Starting with the bluffs is a little easier for me, so I'm trying to go through it, and I really couldn't think of much. I get it. We don't have boats here. We are incredibly capped after checking back that flop. Still, he has to find some bluffs here to do this with against me. So, like, what are they? I don't know if he plays 5-4. 5-4 seems like a good candidate for a bluff because you block the boats. But I mean, I don't really have any boats, so they're kind of irrelevant blockers. It's an interesting spot. Is he ever doing this with worse for value? Definitely don't think so. If he had an 8, I think he just calls my raise on the river. If he has a straight, he'd call my raise. If he has the very few worse flushes, he would just call my raise. So ace 8, I probably think just calls. So queen 8, he has a lot of boats. Then he has ace X of hearts, king X of hearts, and yeah, I'm losing to all those hands. This guy put me in the tank for about 5 minutes. 5 minutes came off the break clock because I was trying, like I said before, to take my time, really think through it. Past me might have just not taken so long and then ended up calling. Present day me was like, yeah, just because he's good doesn't mean he can just pull bluffs out of thin air. He still has to find some bluffs, and I could not put him on any. I really couldn't. So I ended up folding. We don't see his hand. We never will know what he had, but if he did somehow find a bluff, very well done. And he got me to fold a flush, knowing that I could not have a boat here in this spot, most likely. So yeah, now we lost a big portion of our stack and are going on break with about 100K. So things were not going well at that first table, and luckily we get a redraw at 24, and now we're at a new table, and I actually think we're down to 18 players at this point. Our table was playing 6-handed. I open Jack 10 offsuit on the button, and the big blind defends. He's got all the chips. The flop is 7-7-5 with 2 diamonds and a heart. He checks, and I c-bet 5K. He quickly makes the call. He's seen me c-bet this side a couple of times and then give up on the turn, so I think that he's probably going to be calling me pretty wide on this flop, expecting me to bet it a lot. The turn is an offsuit 8, so I pick up a gutter. With like the dynamic of how things have been going at this table, I feel like he will give my double barrel a lot of credit, so I just go for it. I bet 15K on the turn. He pretty quickly folds. Really happy to pick up those chips approaching the bubble. At this point, there's 17 left. We're 2 away from the money. We've been going hand for hand, and we look down at ace king of diamonds in the hijack. I open at 8K. My opponent in the cutoff, who's been stalling all the way up until we got hand for hand, jams all in for 71,000. We're obviously gonna make the call, so that's what we do. We put in the chips. He flips over ace jack of spades, and unfortunately, we take a gut punch as he runs out a flush. So he gets super lucky on us, and now we're down to crumbs with 2 away from the money. Now we go from having a very healthy stack on the bubble to being the shortest stack left in the tournament. We get some good news. We fold for 2 orbits, and then we look down at pocket queens. We go all in for crumbs. We get called, and our crumbs become double crumbs. We get the full double and are super pumped just to have some breathing room again. After that, we pick up aces. I think the blinds went up, so we only had like 7 big blinds. Nothing else to do but jam it all in. Can't get sneaky, it'd be way too obvious. So we jam it all in, nobody calls, and we pick up the blinds and antes. So on the stone bubble, we redraw with 16 left and fold, all the way down to, I think we have like 5 big blinds in this hand. We look down at ace queen offsuit, the big stack open under the gun. We jam it all in. He calls pretty quickly, obviously. And this time he has 9-8 offsuit. We hold. We make the double, sitting with 10 big blinds on the bubble. Not the shortest stack anymore. All right, it has not been an ideal day. I don't know how much I was capturing on film, but it's been like a long day. I lost that ace king to ace jack hand, which would have put me squarely into a very comfortable position for the bubble. And so now I'm just kind of like short stack ninjaing right now, where I'm either jamming and free folds or I double my 4 blinds or whatever. So sometimes that's how tournaments go, including this one today. We are on the direct bubble, and we have been on the direct bubble for about an hour now. 1 away. Yeah, overall, not a great day 2. As you can tell, it's really hard to get a couple of days in a row going very well for you in tournaments. You could have a great day 1, but you gotta have a great day 2 as well. It's just how it is. Deep breath. I'm gonna need a little snack, get back in there, and hopefully survive through the bubble. See you guys soon with another update. Okay, scratch that. I just went over there to see what the stack setups were like at the 2 tables, and it turns out somebody busted. When we went on break, I sprinted to the bathroom. So I didn't stick around to see, somebody just busted. So we're in the money. Yay! Way better feeling to end this break knowing that at least you made some money on this tournament, and now the job is just to spin it up and final table, then win it. So now it's time to run up a stack. We pick up king, queen of diamonds in the hijack off 11 big blinds. We're all in. So that's what we do. We shove, and when it folds around to the small blind, she makes the call, and we see we're up against ace jack offsuit. So about a 60-40 flip. Let's see if we can win another one. Ooh. Okay. Oh man. Busto in 11th for about 1280. Did the best I could, but we couldn't get there. I was happy to at least cash once I took that bad beat with ace king to the ace jack. It was good just to like squeak into the money. Our day is coming, guys. Our day is coming, but today just was not that day. All right, till next time. See ya.